Hi boys and girls, I'm going to be reading chapter 8 of Magic Treehouse, Mummies in the Morning. Probably 8 and 9. Chapter 8, The Mummy. A real mummy, Jack thought. Bandages were all wrapped around the mummy's skull, but most of the bandages had fallen away from the face. It was Hutepi, Queen of the Nile. Hutepi's mummy wasn't beautiful. It had broken teeth, little wrinkled ears, and a squashed nose. Its flesh had withered. Its eyes were hollow sockets. The rotting bandages on the mummy's body were coming off. Jack could see bones. "Oh, gross!" cried Annie. "Let's go." "No," Jack said. "It's interesting." "Forget it," said Annie. She started out of the room. "Wait, Annie." "Come on, Jack, hurry," cried Annie. She was standing by the door. Jack pulled out the Egypt book and flipped to a picture of a mummy. He read aloud. Ancient Egyptians tried to protect the body so it would last forever. First, it was dried out with salt. "Ugh, stop," said Annie. "Listen," said Jack. He kept reading. Next, it was covered with oil. Then it was wrapped tightly in bandages. The brain was removed. "Yuck, stop!" cried Annie. "Goodbye." She dashed out of the room. Annie called Jack. "We have to give her the Book of the Dead." But Annie was gone. Jack reached into his pack. He pulled out the scroll and the scepter. He put them next to the mummy's skull. Was it just his imagination, or did a deep sigh seem to shudder throughout the room? Did the mummy's face grow calmer? Jack held his breath as he backed out of the mummy room. He hurried through the boat room and headed down the stairs. At the bottom of the stairs, Jack heaved his own sigh, a sigh of relief. He looked down the hallway. It was empty. "Hey, Annie, where are you?" he said. No answer. Where in the world was Annie? Here's Jack putting hot stuff in the mummy's tomb. Jack started down the hallway. "Annie," he called. Had she run out of the pyramid? Was she already outside? "Annie, help Jack," came a cry. The voice sounded far away. It was Annie. Where was she? "Help, Jack." "Annie?" Jack started to run along the shadowy hallway. "Help, Jack." Her cry seemed fainter. Jack stopped. He was running away from her voice. "Annie?" he called. He went back toward the burial chambers. "Jack!" Her voice was louder. "Jack!" Jack climbed the stairs. He went back into the boat room. He looked around at the furniture, the musical instruments, and the boat. Then he saw it. There was another door. It was right next to the door he had just come through. The other door was open. Jack dashed through it. He found himself at the top of some stairs. They were just like the stairs outside the other door. He went down the stairs and into a hallway. It was lit by torches on the wall. It was just like the other hallway. "Annie," he called. "Jack! Annie! Jack!" Annie was running through the hallway toward him. She crashed into him. "I was lost," she cried. "I think this is one of those false passages built to fool the tomb robbers," said Jack. "A false passage?" said Annie, panting. "Yeah, it looks just like the other hallway," said Jack. "We have to go back into the boat room and out the right door." Just then they heard a creaking noise. Jack and Annie turned around. They looked up the stairs. They watched in horror as the door slowly creaked shut. A deep sound rumbled in the distance, and all the torches went out. Chapter 9 is called Follow the Leader. It was pitch dark. "What happened?" asked Annie. "I don't know. Something weird," said Jack. "We have to get out of here fast. Push against the door." "Good idea," said Annie in a small voice. They felt their way through the darkness to the top of the stairs. "Don't worry. Everything's going to be okay," said Jack. He was trying to stay calm. "Of course," said Annie. They leaned against the wooden door and pushed it. It wouldn't budge. They pushed harder. It was no use. Jack took a deep breath. It was getting harder to breathe and harder to stay calm. "What can we do?" asked Annie. Just rest a minute," said Jack, panting. His heart was pounding as he tried to see through the darkness. Maybe we should start down the hall, Annie said. Maybe we'll eventually come to an exit. Jack wasn't sure about that, but they had no choice. Okay, come on, he said. Feel the wall. Jack felt the stone wall as he climbed slowly down the stairs. Annie followed. Jack started down the hallway. It was impossible to see anything, but he kept going, taking one step at a time, moving his hands along the wall. Jack went around a corner. He went around another corner. He came to some stairs. He climbed up. Annie followed. There was a door. Jack pushed against it. Annie pushed too. This door wouldn't budge either. Or was it the same door? Jack and Annie stopped pushing. It was no use. They were trapped. Annie took Jack's hand in the dark. She squeezed it. They stood together at the top of the stairs, listening to the silence. Meow. Oh man, Jack whispered. He's back, said Annie. Meow. Follow him, cried Jack. He's going away from us. Jack and Annie started down the dark hallway following the cat's meow. Hands against the wall, they stumbled through the darkness. Meow. Jack and Annie kept following the sound all the way through the winding hallway. They went around one corner, then another, then another. Finally, they saw a light at the end of the tunnel. They rushed forward, out into the bright sunlight. Yay! Annie shouted. But Jack was thinking. Annie, he said, how did we get out of the false passage? The cat, said Annie. But how could the cat do it? Asked Jack. Magic, said Annie. Jack frowned. But look, said Annie. She pointed. The cat was bounding away over the sand. Thank you, called Annie. Thanks, Jack shouted at the cat. The cat's black tail waved. Then the cat disappeared into the shimmering waves of heat. Jack followed towards the palm trees. The magic tree house sat like a bird's nest at the top of one. Time to go home, Jack said. Jack and Annie set off for the palm trees. It was a long, hot walk. At last, Annie grabbed the rope ladder. Jack followed. Once they were inside the tree house, Jack reached for the book about Pennsylvania. Suddenly, he heard a rumbling sound. It was the same sound he had heard in the pyramid. Look, Annie said, pointing out the window. Jack looked. A boat was beside the pyramid. It was gliding over the sea like a boat sailing over the sea. It was gliding over the sand like a boat sailing over the sea. Then the boat faded away into the distance. Was it just a mirage? Or was it the ghost queen, finally on her way to the next life? Home, Jack whispered. Jack opened the Pennsylvania book. He pointed to the picture of Frog Creek. I wish we could go home, he said. The wind began to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely still. And that's the end of chapter 9. I'll read chapter 10 next. And it's called Another Clue. Bye.